So our next lesson today is going to be really 5 key components, sort of success stories or areas where we think there's been clear progression in how we relate to churches, how we activate and engage churches. And we came up with kind of 5 areas. So as we go through, each one of these has another module associated with it, so you can seek more information. Consider this sort of a table of contents, some areas where you can explore and get more information. So our first step was really the come and see philosophy. Start with where you are. It's sort of the success story is really begin with what you have available to you. So for this example, I know Poli, you've talked about the Vision Works and Vision seminars. Tell us a little bit more about how that works, and I know we'll have a full module on it later.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bill. The Vision Seminar here is a half-day workshop which brings together the local church leadership, the local clinic, and the local government leaderships. And it's an opportunity for everyone to learn, particularly from the local clinic, what are the challenges, what are the problems existing in the community as far as healthcare in general and care for the sick is concerned. And in this workshop, the nurse or the doctor or the monitoring and evaluation officer of the clinic comes and presents numbers and facts about what's going on in the community.
It's that education.
Exactly, and can be feeding. I mean, patients feeding related issues, and what are the diseases that are prevailing or the main causes of morbidity and mortality at the clinical level, and so the clinic exposes what the problem is, and the church being there and the local government being there together, they start thinking, there is a problem here. They discover what the issue is. And in the same session, then they discover what the church can do following the church strategy, and what are the available resources that can be used to support the efforts being deployed at the clinical level to tackle the identified problems.
You mentioned this kind of discovery period. It's largely educational. It's the clinic or the government, they're giving them some topics, but the church also has the opportunity to voice, here's what we're seeing in our community. Have you noticed any particular themes that come out of the church membership that are issues that they bring up during some of these vision sessions?
Yeah, absolutely, yes, because we're dealing here with the leadership of the church, because actually the pastor or the priest or the sheikh is at the grassroots level. He's one of the best placed people to know what the problem of the community is. And it is an opportunity, this vision seminar, for the church leaders to say, hey, this is what we have also noticed among our church members and among the members of the general community. The same thing for the political leaders present in the vision seminar. So they all exchange what they have noticed as health problem in the community. And in the as you will see in the modules that are presented or discussed in the vision seminar, it's then the opportunity to learn a bit more about the church strategy. Now, for these identified problems and knowing what every church can do with available resources to do the church care for the sick, using the unleashed force of volunteers, and helping with medication and championing healthy behavior and helping with medication. So the whole group would identify what can be done under each one of those letter of the church acrostic.
You can tell he's a little passionate about the church acrostic. That actually leads us into number 2,
Right.
which is to be all-inclusive. Many times when the politicians or the leadership from the community get together, there are already certain agendas that are in place, and we want it to be more of a brainstorming, everyone can be involved. Invite everyone to these.
Yeah.
This is not an exclusive thing, this is an inclusive thing.
Right.
And I think that's been a success story with how we've operated our Care for the Sick, our Peace Works.
Right.
You mentioned the church acrostic. Again, we're going to have a whole module breaking out the acrostic. So
Right.
again, this just allows anyone can participate. The church acrostic, you don't have special skills. You just have to have a heart and a passion for care for the sick.
Right.
And we'll do that one. We'll do that one in a separate module.
Absolutely.
So number 1 was this come and see philosophy, this have this discovery period, the vision seminar.
Right.
Number 2, be all inclusive. We'll do the church acrostic as an example of what all inclusive, what anybody can do.
Right.
An interesting part of this, another success with what we've been doing over the past several years has been the lesson plans. There'll be, again, many of these available for those that are watching.
Right.
But you brought up a very interesting point when we were talking this morning about how those were opened up and how they became more participatory. Tell us a little about that one too.
Right. This is even done in the Vision Seminar itself.
Okay.
And the rest of the lessons definitely take that format where people are placed into small working groups and kind of think and come share what are their findings as far as what can be done. And it's, allows everyone to participate and to think and bring its own idea and say, what can we do? Now, coming back to the way the rest of the lessons are structured, actually, what I personally observed as being helpful is the sketch or the scenario
The opening
format.
scenario?
Exactly. So where there is a scenario that is presented as a sketch, and everyone sees what's going on. I would give you an example here about, let's say, HIV/AIDS, and it's a mom who is infected and who delivers a baby who's discovered to be infected a few months later, and she's diagnosed simply because she showed up with an infection that suggests something wrong as far as the immunity is concerned. And they notice that the mom is infected. And after they notice also that the dad was infected. So, and they play that sketch. It's a scenario presented. And everyone comes to discover, and everyone sees what's happening. And everyone, there are these questions called the show questions. What did you see? Participants will tell what they saw happening. And why is this happening? They start discovering, oh, this happened because there was no test before or test during the pregnancy. So what can be done? It's another question that everyone answers based on what has been observed in the sketch. So, and everyone participates, gives his opinion and brings an idea on what can be done or what was observed. And the scenarios are selected based on the existing problems in the community.
Based on what they've already talked about.
Exactly.
So, Dr. Polepole, as you give us this example, it sounds like there's another acrostic about these lessons, and it's SHOW, S-H-O-W. What are those? What are those 4 questions that we're hoping to ask the audience?
Well, those 4 questions that are going to be asked to the audience after the sketch has been played are under the acrostic of SHOW, and S stands for what do you see?
Ask the question. Just ask
Exactly.
the question, what do you see?
Yeah. And H stands for what is it happening here?
Just describe it.
Yeah, describe it. What's happening? And O stands for, do you observe what you've just seen happening here? Do you observe that in your community where you live? And the W stands for, why does this happen? If you observe this happening in your community, why do you think this happens? So it's a set of questions that allows the participants or the audience to brainstorm, to think, to start observing, to start discovering what the problem is based on the sketch, which definitely is similar or reflects what's happening in the community in most cases. Yeah.
And I like those 4 questions because any of us can ask those 4 questions.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your education or your literacy, or just watch and observe. I always think of some of these questions or the skit as cause, effect, consequence. And
Right.
if people can say, well, I see there was a consequence here, what's the cause and effect, and work backwards?
Right.
And what I really like is we're not just giving them the answer. They need to process and come up with the answer by themselves or as a group.
Exactly.
So it's very thought-provoking for them. Interesting. Do you observe this in your community? I like that one a lot because it's confirmation to them. It's like, yes, I do think this is a problem.
Right.
This is an opportunity where we can do something.
Right.
And we ask why. Why is this going on? Why did this happen? Not what are we going to do about it?
Right.
Because we want to be sure to not just feed them an answer. We want them to just really think about the question. So these lessons, and I should expand this, the show acrostic for the sketch. Beyond that, I think all of our lessons, we need to be thinking about how the group can participate. We don't want to just sit down with some handouts.
Right.
We want people to be provoked to think.
Right.
And as we go through these examples and many of the lessons you'll see in the curriculum that we have, think about creative ways to draw people in and have a conversation. Don't make it a classroom.
Right.
Be more than that. So great. So we have the come and see. We have the include everyone. We have being participatory. Make it open for everyone to participate.
Right.
As we move along through not just the vision seminar, but another success over time is people are going to hopefully take this on. There's going to be some ownership. Another success or another moment that we discovered as we were going through our Care for the Sick, our Peace Works, the churches are going to get it. They're going to want to take that next step.
Right.
And there's a growth that happens, which is wonderful to see. But it needs to be organic. We had so much curriculum that we can kind of push our churches to go too fast, or there's such expansion that churches want to participate, but they need to be ready to participate.
Absolutely.
So this church readiness and this partnership, we start with Care for the Sick. We worked with the feeding programs. We worked with trainings, small groups. After people have that, what are some of the next steps that the churches started taking, both in Care for the Sick and maybe some of the other Peace Works that happened? What did you notice?
Now, after the training has been conducted, and we have church volunteers who are ready because they have the basic knowledge that they need. Now, they start to initiate or start church-initiated small works, small initiatives.
Start with the basics.
Yeah,
Yep.
you mentioned the church-initiated patient feeding program. And they notice that this is working. And each one of these church volunteers applies some of the lessons on their own homes, healthy homes, and get evaluated.
Success. There's this
is successful at the first level. Those who have received the training have used what they've learned, and change is being observed. Now, time to start taking these lessons to other community members, home visits with the lessons. And the learned lessons are being applied in the life of visited homes, and change is being operated, and the church can monitor that and see that, yes, the change is being operated. People are getting educated about malaria prevention and HIV/AIDS testing, counseling and testing, and they are trying to go themselves to seek for to seek testing, and so the change or the transformation is being seen. Then it's time for the church to start to think of what else can be done.
What's the next level, right?
What's the next level? And the church initiated HIV/AIDS testing and training, start being organized. Now it's time to start inviting the clinic to come to do the testing at the local church. So it's kind of step by step, see how much the church feels able to handle at that point. And once one set of activities or initiatives is started and running and producing the change expected in the community, then more things can be added.
It's interesting because your key phrase, I think, there was this kind of stepwise approach.
Right.
Let the church take on what they think they're capable of, and getting that kind of first step, the feeding program, et cetera.
Right.
And there's a success. They feel self-encouraged.
Right.
And there's this growth all the way through. One of the examples for Care for the Sick was we moved to the full clinical church model. It's the HIV screening, this kind of big event, hypertension, all that. Another thing that can be noticed is you may have your first works be in Care for the Sick. We have the trunk of purpose-driven and the peace plan.
Right.
That first major break from the tree, that first big branch is Care for the Sick. But there may be others in the membership, in the church membership, who say, well, I see that one. That may not be my passion.
Right.
But another related topic is financial health.
Right.
Or it's relationships, marriage. There are many other peace works to go after.
Right.
Members will probably start seeking their passion, their shape. We talk about shape a lot. And we want to be encouraging for those others to find their passions as they go along. So whatever route or branch you first start with, and the church may do a few of these, imagine your membership diversifying over time, finding the new passions. They've had some successes. What else can we do?
Right.
The partnership part, you talked about it's all church initiated, which is really, we want to be church centric. After that, there's this partner moment where now I feel like I can go shake hands with the clinic and say, can you come to our church?
Right.
Same is true for, say, the government, something else. We don't want to short circuit the organic nature, the grassroots growth.
Right.
Don't go into, we talk about the primary level. Stay primary, get very church acrostic, right? I know you're going to bring that up again. When you get ready to start doing these working groups with partners, that's that growth that's going to happen in a church. It's a wonderful thing to see when it happens. The churches feel as a group can really take on more, but we want to have them grow organically. So it was a success for us to give them the time to take on that challenge and organize and get ready. So that was number 4 for us. The fifth one, and I've been asking you a bunch of questions. I'll take this one. One thing we discovered as the expansion was becoming pretty dramatic, people were asking for more, but there's a lot of things that need to get organized, not just people-wise, but process. Even in those vision seminars, someone might have new opportunities they wish to go after. There's something else that is a burden to them, or just personally, they recognize their passion is something else. So we introduced a process to organize these thoughts, these ideas. So it's called the focus acrostic. I know we've used it a few times now. And just briefly, the focus acrostic is, the F is find an opportunity. What is the opportunity? Can you describe it? Can you make a sentence about it? Call it out, make it real. The O is organize a team. Now we've talked a lot about organizing a church. So there's probably a team that is ready to go for this sort of thing, but ask, who would be involved in something like this? Who are the stakeholders would be a phrase. The C is clarify current knowledge, and that can take a long time. Just really understand what the topic is. What are the burdens? What's the cause, effect, consequence? There might be a good sketch to start with. The U is to understand variation. What can change? Is it seasonal? Is it depending on your education level? Just think about it in what could change in that opportunity. And the S is to select a strategy to further pursue it. Later on, we'll do a separate module for focus that can be pulled up to highlight more details around those 5 letters. But we use that process a number of times, both at the hospital and in the churches, just to get a document or an understanding of an opportunity. So I would use that as a process step. Overall, these 5 areas, what I particularly like about them, this does not require a doctor to do any of this. We're almost useless. No, we are. But the idea is, yes, we're physician leaders, we're healthcare leaders, but the church can do this. Anybody can come and participate and grow and learn. So come and see, include everyone, be participatory. When you're ready, seek partnership and have a process, have a way to organize these things. So all 5 of these we'll explore in other modules, but I certainly appreciate the time, and thank you very much.
Not a problem.